Sarah here from the Paper Cut. Today I am going to be showing you how to make one of our cascading cards. So let me show you some samples of cascading cards first. So this is one of our cascading cards. This one is our black and white one. So the cascading card, it angles up and then it's dimensional, so it kind of pops out like that. So that's our black and white one. Then we have this cream one. So this one I did use patterned paper on and a bunch of die cuts. So that's our cream one. Then we have a 4th of July one. So this one's red and white. And I did stamp the background of that one. Then the one that I'm going to be showing you is this fun gnome one. Okay, I did stamp the green on here. So it comes as a kit. This one is the red and white. So it comes as this kit right here. This one is just a white and white. So in the package you just get the card base. You don't get all the stuff to decorate it. You use all of your stuff that you have, because I'm sure you have lots of it, to decorate the stuff, or to decorate it. Then I also used our layering die, and that was to cut layers, and I'm going to show you that. So now we're going to go down to the table and I'm going to show you the panels, so what you get, and then we're going to go ahead and make the card. So in the kit, in the red and white one, you get these two panels. Okay, they are both cut at angles. They're 12 3/4 inches long, so from end to end it's 12 3/4 inches. It's scored at 4 1/4, and then there's slits. So the slit on the red one goes from the top down, and then the middle panel goes from the bottom up, and then the top down. Now the white one is opposite. So it goes from the bottom up, then in the middle panel it goes from top down, and then it goes from the bottom up on the last panel. So people say, why don't you have a die for the card base? The reason is because it's 12 3/4 inches long. A, not a lot of your machines take something that big, and B, you need two of them because they go opposite. They kind of feed into each other. So they're opposite. So now we're going to get to putting it together. I did cut the layers with the layering die set. Okay, so this one, I cut the white layer in the big die, the Miri lava layer in the smaller die, and then the end panel I also cut. So you can see that the die is only one size, and you have to cut it on the bottoms to adjust the height. So I'm going to show you that with the middle panel. Okay, so, but this one actually goes on the opposite side of the card, and you can see the angle's cut a little bit different. It doesn't fit on there because this end panel you see right here, this end panel you see right here, but then the middle panel right there is actually on the other side of the card. So that's where our middle panel goes, and I'm going to show you how to cut it. So let me move that one out of the way. We're going to take, and I kind of just line up my middle panel. Sometimes I'll hold it in place with a piece of removable tape, and I turn it over, and then I just use a pen and draw that line. So that's the bottom of the panel. Then I'm going to take my paper trimmer, and I'm just going to cut in. Now on those panels there was only a slight border, so I'm just going to cut about a 1/16 of an inch in to make a slight border. So that's our layer on our middle panel. Then we have our red one, and we're going to do the same thing. Now there's a bigger border on here. So again, we're going to just hold it in place. You could use a piece of removable tape. We're going to turn it over, and we're just going to follow the edge of our layer. So that's, if we trimmed it on that line, it would be right to the bottom edge. But since I have a 1/4 inch border all the way around, I'm going to trim it a little bit further in. So I'm going to trim it about 1/4 of an inch in. And if it's not perfect, it's okay. A, it's handmade. And B, you don't really see the bottom anyways. So I trimmed those, and those are going to go right there. So I am going to tape those down. Now I do want to talk just a little bit about when you're using a printed paper or another paper that's colored on one side and white on the other, because it really makes a difference when you're die cutting. Okay, so I am going to bring our my regular one that I'm going to attach in just a minute. But when we're die cutting a paper that is white on one side and colored on the other, if we put it through, and I'm using our Miri Sparkle, and kind of the same, our mirror card is the same, where it's white on one side, shiny on the other. So if I cut straight down like you would normally, you'd put your die on the paper and you'd cut it. When you do that, hang on a second. Now when I do cut my Miri Sparkle, you can see that I have a nice heavy duty plate on here. This is a stainless steel plate, and your Miri Sparkle cuts really well. Miri Sparkle is a glitter paper, so sometimes it gets a little, sticky on the edges. So when you're cutting, if you cut into one of your plastic plates, the die kind of pushes into the plastic, but when you cut on the heavy metal plates, then the die actually gives you a nice clean cut. But what I wanted to show you is that now I'm at the wrong angle. And when I go to tape it down, I don't have the pretty side up. So you really have to pay attention when you're using a paper that has white on one side and a pattern or a pretty side on the other, because your angle might not be correct depending on which panel it's going on. So instead of cutting down, I'm going to turn my pretty paper over and cut the opposite way. So now I have my red mirror card at the angle that I need it at. So just be careful when you're cutting papers that have two sides to them, because your middle panel is going to be at the opposite angle than your outer two panels. So I'm going to pull this one off. I'm going to actually pull in a fresh card, and so I can attach my panels. I do like to tape all the way around when I am taping everything down. This is ATG tape. So we've got our end panel. We have this is our back panel. The little one is what you see on the front, and then we have to flip it over to attach our middle panel. Now you'll see when I fold the card, so this is the back panel, then we have our middle panel, and then we have our front panel. Now, because we put so much, we kind of covered up our slits. Our slits are there. You can't see them because I covered it up, so I'm just going to use my Sharpie to show you where the slits are. The slits are right here. The slits are right here. And the slit is right here. So I'm going to use my scissors, and I am just going to, now you don't have to do that at home. I just did that so you can see it. But I'm going to follow the slit down, and instead of stopping where the slit ends, I'm going to cut a little bit further down. Because we added so much bulk onto here, we just want to extend that slit just a little bit. So I'm just going to cut straight down and a little bit past that. Then I'm going to go to my opposite end. And cut a little bit past. Then I'm going onto my other side. And again, you don't have to draw the lines. Unless you want to, you can. I just did that so you could see what I was doing. And I'm gonna cut a little bit past that end. Okay, so now we've got that done. Now we've got our other side. So again, this one sets up back, middle, front. That's the front of the card. Then when we have our stamped side, now I could have done it exactly the way I did on here where I have my two panels. So I could have just stamped on my two ends and then flipped it over and stamped the middle. I just did that to show you. But if you're not sure, go ahead and stamp the whole darn thing. It's not gonna hurt anything, okay? Except you just stamped more than you needed to, but it's okay. Because sometimes it's too much thinking. So just go ahead and stamp the whole thing. But again, we have our back, our middle, our front. Our back, our middle, our front. I like to line them up with my 2 points. So I have my 2 points right here, and that's how I know that they're gonna fit together. I have my 2 bigger points here, and I have my back, middle, and my front. So then I take my slits, and I even did extend my white, or the slits on my white paper. Even these aren't bulked up, but because they have to fit around this one, I extended these slits just by a hair. So now I slide the slits into each other. And I push down. Now if I wouldn't have been able to push all the way down on here, that just would have meant that I needed, it's too tight because I have too much bulk there and I need to extend my slits, but we already did that. So then I'm just going to carefully feed my middle panels into each other, and then my front panels into each other. And then you just kind of have to straighten everything out. And there's the front of our card. Sometimes you have to futz with it just a little bit to straighten everything. So now that's our card. Now I am going to put a band across the front. When I'm doing that, I usually do not put tape all the way across here. When I put tape all the way across, when I pull that open, it tends to bend in like that. So I like to just put tape on those outer edges and then attach it. So I have my foam tape on there. I just have foam tape on my outer edges. And I'm just going to attach that down. And now it doesn't bend in when I pull it open. Now, sometimes I'll take my whatever I'm attaching and I will kind of play with them for a little while to see what I like. So I usually don't put too much adhesive on the back, or I'll use a removable adhesive, just because then I can play with where things are fitting, you know, throughout. Now, because I do have a sample, I kind of know where things are going to begin with. So, but when you're attaching to the front here, do not put tape on the back of everything, because here's my little gnome that's going right here. If I put tape all the way on him, then he's gonna be up and he might be down. Unless you want him to be bent in, then you can do that. And then also make sure that his little feet aren't sticking off the bottom. So I just have a little bit of foam tape on him, and I'm just gonna attach him off to the side. Then I have my 2B Jolly, and I do have my Jolly, and I do have a little bit of foam tape on that. I do like foam tape, so I pop a lot of stuff up. So there we have the front of our card. Then I have my 2B. Now this one, because I popped up my band and I popped up my Jolly, it's double popped up. So on my 2B, I have 2 layers of foam tape on there, just because that's going to pop that up a little bit more. Now you're asking, like, what envelope does this fit in? This fits in an A6 envelope, and that's what comes in the kit. However, if you extend your people or whatever you're putting up there, if you extend them too high, they might not fit in the envelope, and then you might have to move up to an A7 envelope. So just kind of be aware. My guys are probably sticking up a little bit high, and that's okay. So now, depending on what I'm sticking in here, you can stick them on the front. So you can put tape on the front of them and then attach it to the front of the panel, or you can put tape on the back of the panel and attach it to the back. So it's totally up to you, but like I said, sometimes you want to just put a little bit of adhesive on, and then you can decide where you're going to put things. If you put too much adhesive on, then you can't always rip it apart. So yeah, just kind of put a little bit on until you kind of decide where they're going, and there's no right or wrong. So you kind of have to look at it from the front to decide where everything is going to attach. So, and again, you can put them behind, or you can put them, you know, behind your layers or in front of them. There's no right or wrong, you just kind of do what you want to do. So then we have our cascading card. See how that little guy stuck? I put too much adhesive on him and he actually stuck to that back layer. So you want to pay attention when you're putting them on the fronts, just to make sure you don't have too much adhesive on there. Otherwise your panels can stick together. But that is our cascading card kit. So the cascading card kit comes in a number of different colors. So back here, so we have some different sets. Again, they are just the card bases. You don't get all the pieces that are in each one. You're kind of using your own supplies to decorate. So your stamps or your pattern paper, the dies are really handy because then you can use your own pattern paper and cut different layers, and you don't have to worry about stamping. But on a lot of mine, I did like stamp backgrounds on some of these. So then I also want to show you one of our newer products. And that is this triple tier slider card. So this is the triple tier slider card. When you pull it up, it slides up. Now this, we just have the paper. We're the paper cut, so we do just have a lot of paper pre-cut. We have some dies, but we don't have the die for this one. If you are a die cut kind of gal, you want to go to Divinity Designs because they do have the die for this. But then I did talk to them and I said, hey, do you mind if I do the paper for it? And they're like, no, have at her. So we have the paper pre-cut for the triple tier slider card. It comes in a set of 5, and again, it's just the card base. And we did put an A6 envelope with this one too, to accommodate the little tab at the top. Another place that you want to go is probably to the class page of our website, because we do classes about every 3 weeks. We do virtual classes in our warehouse. This triple tier slider is actually in a class that we are doing this weekend. And along with one of our other new cards, which is the flip-flop card. So that's the flip-flop card. So that's in a class that we're doing this weekend also. Those are 2 new products that we have on our website, the flip-flop card and the triple tier slider card. But other cards that we're doing are this slider card, which we do have a die to make that sliding mechanism. See how that slides to make the front of your card pop up. And then the class this weekend is called Flippers and Sliders. So of course we have to have our magic card that slides up. So if you missed this class, you can always go to our website. I do have kits left. Those are on our class page. Then we also have our flip card. So those were all in a class that I'm teaching or taught on Thursday and Friday of this weekend. A couple other things that I forgot to show you was we did use some pretty mirror card on our gnome cascading card. We used the red. We used our Miri Lava, which is a fairly new paper that has a really cool effect. And then we did use some of our Miri Sparkle on that card too. So visit our sale page for our sale items, visit our class page for our classes. Otherwise, if you have any questions, you can always email me, and thank you for joining me today.